Hey student, good afternoon. Today the topic of our discussion is integumentary system. Skin. Largest organ of the body in surface area and weight. Skin. Skin is an organ because it consists of different tissues that are joined to perform a specific function. बेसिकली स्किन हमारे जिस्म का सबसे बड़ा ऑर्गन है, सबसे बड़ा एक फ़र्ज़ कर लें जी स्पेस एरिया जिसने कवर किया हुआ है और इसके अंदर मुख्तलिफ टिश्यू मिलकर एक काम करते हैं स्पेसिफिक फंक्शन. डर्माटोलॉजी इज़ अ मेडिकल स्पेशलिटी कंसर्निंग द डायग्नोजिंग एंड ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ स्किन डिसऑर्डर. डर्माटोलॉजी मेडिकल की एक टर्म है जिसके अंदर हम स्किन के ट्रीटमेंट, स्किन डिसऑर्डर और कंसर्निंग के बारे में पढ़ते हैं. कंटेंट. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट इट्स कंटेंट. दिस सिस्टम इज़ डिवाइड इनटू skin, hair, glands, nails, nerve endings. You can see the picture. Here is the first one, the pore one, the dermal papilla, the mesenteric corpuscles, free nerve ending, sebaceous gland, erector pili muscles, sensory nerve fibers, Edison sweat gland, and artery, vein, adipose tissue, root hair, plexus, Endocrine sweat gland, hair root, superficial fascia, dermis, epidermis. Anatomy structures. Epidermis, thinner outer layer of skin. Dermis, thicker connective tissue layer. Hypodermis, subcutaneous layer or subcu. Muscles and bone. फिजियोलॉजी और फंक्शन. प्रोटेक्शन करता है हमारी बॉडी को स्किन. फिजिकल बैरियर दैट प्रोटेक्ट अंडरलाइंग टिश्यू फ्रॉम इंजरी, अल्ट्रावायलेट लाइट एंड बैक्टीरियल इन्वेजन. मैकेनिकल बैरियर इज अ पार्ट ऑफ नॉन स्पेसिफिक इम्यूनिटी, स्किन टीयर्स एंड सलाइवा. रेगुलेशन ऑफ बॉडी टेम्परेचर. हाई टेम्परेचर और स्ट्रेनियस एक्सरसाइज स्वेट इज एवेपोरेट फ्रॉम द स्किन surface to cool it down. Vasodilation increase blood flow and vasoconstriction decrease in blood. Regulate blood temperature. Sensation feel करवाता है. Nerve ending and receptor cells that detect stimuli to temperature, pain, pressure and touch. Excretion sweat remove from water and small amount of salt, uric acid and ammonia from the body surface. Blood reservoir. Dermis house an extensive network of blood vessels carrying 8 to 10% of total blood flow in the resting adult. Synthesis of vitamin D, cholecalciferol. Ultraviolet rays in sunlight stimulate the production of vitamin D enzyme in the kidney and liver, modify and convert to final form calcitriol, most active form of vitamin D. Calcitriol acid is a absorption of calcium from the food and the considered a hormone. Epidermis, keratinoized stratified squamous epithelium with 4 distinct cell type and 5 distinct layer. You can see the picture. First one is dermis, the last in the starting. Basement membrane, stratum basal, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, stratum corneum. You can see the picture. Keratinocytes, desmosomes, Langerhans cells. Stratum corneum is the first one, stratum granulosum the second one, stratum spinosum the third one, stratum basal the base dermis. Melanocytes, melanin granules, Merkel cells, sensory nerve ending, the dermis contain, and the stratum contain cell actively mitotic stem cells. Some newly formed cell become part of more superficial, and the stratum spinosum contain thick bundle of intermediate filaments made by prekeratinoized. Stratum granulosum contain cell are flattened organelle deteriorates cytoplasm full of limited granule released lipids and keratinoids, and the stratum corneum contained cells are dead, represented only by a flat membrane sac filled with keratin, glycolipid in extracellular species. Cell in the epidermis: keratinocytes, melanocytes, Merkel cells, Langerhans cells. Keratinocytes most abundant are produce keratin, fibrous proteins, protective waterproofing the skin, continuous mitosis, perform in the deepest layer called the stratum basilar. Cells push their weight up to the surface where they are dead. Cell filled with keratin will slouch off, regenerate every 25 to 45 days. Keratinocytes, melanocytes, you can check the picture. Melanocytes cells produce brownish black pigments called melanin, 8% of epidermal cells. Stratum bacilli, branching processing dendrites. Melanin accumulate in melanosomes and transport along dendritic of melanocytes of keratinocytes. Melanin accumulates on the superficial aspects of the keratinocytes, shading its nucleus from harmful ultraviolet lights. Lake of melanin, albino. You can check the picture. Dendrites, keratinocytes with melanin granules over the nucleus. Melanocytes, melanosomes. Merkel cells, stratum bacilli, epidermis of fair skin, attached to keratinocytes by dermosomes, make contact with sensory neurons, ending called Merkel disc. Langerhans cells, strata-shaped cells arising from the bone marrow that migrate to epidermis. Epidermal dendritic cell or macrophages interact with WBC called a T helper cell, easily damaged by UV lights. You can check the picture. Stratum corneum, granular layer, spiny layer, basal layer, Langerhans cells, foreign substances, example nickel. Layer of epidermis: stratum corneum, stratum granulosomes, stratum spinosum, melanocytes, basal layer. 5. Hair of epidermis. Stratum corneum, horny layer. Layer has many rows of dead cells filled with keratin, continuously shed and replaced, is known as desquamation. Effective barrier against light, heat and bacteria. 20 to 30 cell layer thick. Dandruff and flakes. 40 lbs of skin flakes in a lifetime. Dust mites. Stratum lucidum, seen in thick skin of the palms and soles of feet. 3 to 5 row of clear flat dead cell. Keratin-hyaline prosecutor to keratin. Stratum granulosum, 3 to 5 row of flattened cell. Nuclei of cell flatten out organelle, disintegrate cell will eventually die. Keratinohyaline granular darkly stained accumulate. Lamellated granulae secrete glycolipid into extracellular spaces to slow water loss into the epidermis. Stratum spinosum, spiny layer. 8 to 10 rows of polyhedral many-sided cell. Appearance of prickly spines, shrinkle when prepared for slide. Melanin granules and Langerhans cells predominant. You can check the picture. Stratum lucidum, stratum granulosomes, stratum spinosum. Stratum bacilli, deepest epidermal layer, attached to dermis, single row of cell, mostly columnar keratinocytes with rapid mitotic division. Stratum germinativum contain Merkel cells and melanocytes, 10 to 25%. Layer of epidermis: stratum corneum, stratum granulism, stratum spinosum, melanocytes, basal layer. You can check the picture. Type of epithelium cells: simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple smooth columnar, ciliated columnar. in simple squamous epithelium. Because of its thin layer, it allows material to pass through easily of diffusion, filtration and secretion where it is found. Respiratory system, air sac and lungs and coronary, the heart and blood vessels. And the other one is simple cubital epithelial, secretion and absorption, kidney and glands found. Simple smooth columnar epithelium, secrete mucus and enzymes, also responsible for lot of sensory inflammation. Be communicated, found in place that secreted mucus such as the stomach and nose, also found in the mouth and testibules, and large responsible for sense to taste. Ciliated columnar epithelium, this same long the thin shape as the simple columnar but with special little hair called cilia on the outside facing surface. Absorption of the cell secretion, sensitive area like the uterus and bronchi, lungs, that help take in oxygen in the respiratory tract and that can become easily damaged from the thinning like cigarette tar, leading to smokers coughing when they can't function properly. Dermis, flexible and strong connective tissue, elastic reticular and collagen fiber, cell fibroblast, macrophages, mast cell or histamine, nerve, blood and lymphatic vessels, oil and sweat gland originate, two-layer papillary and reticular. Papillary layer, loose connective tissue with nipple-like surface projection called dermal papilla. Capillaries layer, contain pain receptor, contain touch receptor, mesoner and corpuscle. Dermal rigid, epidermal rigid, pattern called fingerprint. Reticular layer, dense irregular CT, collagen fiber offer strength, hold water. Dermal tearing cause stretched muscle, stereo. Skin color attribute to melanin, hemoglobin and carotene. Race determined by amount of melanin, not number of melanocytes. Local accumulation of melanin will result in freckle and pigmented mole. Melanin is made through the interaction with tyrosinase present in melanocytes. Ultraviolet light stimulate melanin production. Excessive ultraviolet light can damage DNA and cause solar elastosis, elastic fiber clumps. Keratin is formed from vitamin D or vitamin A and deposited in stratum corneum and important an organ orange tone or to skin. Glands, two layers of gland exist in integument. Sebaceous gland, oil gland, subauriferous gland or sweat gland. There are two types of glands: sebaceous gland or oil gland, pseudoauriferous glands or sweat gland. Sebaceous gland, holocrine gland, connect to hair follicle, not found on palms and soles of feet. Secrete sebum, fat, cholesterol or protein. Keep hair from drying out. Keep skin moist. Whitehead, blackhead and acne. Merocrine secretion, secretory vessels, Golgi complex, nucleus. Apocrine secretion, pinched off portion of cell in the secretion. Holocrine secretion, mature cell dies and becomes secretory production. External route, sebaceous gland. Here you can check the pictures. Here there are about 2 million